All right, here's the two other elements that I want to cover. These are both portions of a line. Okay, so these are just parts of that element line. Okay, a segment is the finite portion of a line that's contained between two endpoints. Okay, finite means it has a definitive beginning and end. Okay, and so it's just that it's not an infinite portion, or infinite like the line. It is a finite or a specific portion of that line. Maddie, question? Okay. So when you're looking at a segment is based on a line. So if you have a reference line and you pick any 2 points on that line, and you want to contain just the portion between these 2 points, you have what's called the segment. Okay, so here we have line AB, but if we took the entire line AB and we wanted to restrict it to just the points from A to B, then you would have segment AB. When you name a segment, you name it, again, one of 2 ways. You can either use the symbol. When you use a symbol, you take the 2 endpoints in either order and place a segment bar across the top. So segment AB or BA can be represented in this fashion. Or just like the line with the L and a subscript, you can also use a capital S and a subscript, the same set of endpoints in either order, to designate or denote your segment. And make sure you understand that there is a difference between the correct way to designate segment and just the endpoints AB. If you have the endpoints AB, what that means is it's the distance between these 2 points. It's not the segment itself. So you can't name a segment without placing the bar across the top or putting it as a subscript under the S. Okay. Array is also a portion of a line. And it's just a half of a line extending in one direction. From an endpoint. And that endpoint would often be referred to as the vertex. Okay, Monica?
Is that one also infinite?
For what? The array. It extends infinitely in one direction. So, I mean, as far as it wouldn't be considered finite because you can't ever measure the end of it. Okay. So just like a segment, if you took a line as your reference point and you have one endpoint and you want all the points that extend on that line in one direction, that would be your array. Okay. So when you name array, there are more restrictions on the naming of array than the other elements that we've looked at so far. You have to start with the endpoint. So when you name array, you have to begin with the endpoint, CD, and you have to extend the single-sided arrow to the right. Okay? You can't extend it to the left. The only other alternative for this is just like segment and line, use a capital R with the same restrictions on the naming. The endpoint first, followed by any other point that's contained on the array itself. These are the only 2 ways to name this array. So if I gave you something, and this would be where the most mistakes would be seen on a quiz or test. If I gave you an array that opens to the left, so it's kind of counterintuitive as far as reading from left to right. If you tried to name this ray XY or ray XY with an arrow pointing to the left, each of those is going to be marked wrong. These aren't the proper naming conventions for these. Okay, so you have to have the arrowhead facing to the right, and you have to start with the endpoint. Chris, did I answer your question? Okay.
So no matter which way the arrow is, it's always the arrow.
You'll always name it to the right. Right. Questions on those two terms? It's kind of the last of the terms or elements that we'll talk about.